Hello, welcome back to the Sound Diaries Coffee Edition. This is the podcast where a group of friends with different roles and background in the audio industry meet up for a chat to last about 1 hour while drinking coffee. And we are on episode 3. We're moving very fast. And as usual, I want to start the podcast thanking my team at Sonora Cinematic for sponsoring the podcast. Last week, we released the steel string counterpart to Pure Nylon, which is called Pure Steel String, which is a really cool acoustic guitar for Soundbox with full MP support that is still on intro sale. And as usual, we have an exclusive discount code for you that you can use at checkout. It's Coffee and Sound, all in capital, one word, for a 10% discount on sonoracinematic.com, and the discount is stackable with the ongoing promotion, so make sure you don't miss out. Without wasting more time, let's go right away to the guests. We have a smaller panel today. I'm gonna go as usual in the order that you appear in my screen, not in order of importance whatsoever, but from North Carolina, from Charlotte, Joe Miller, owner of the Wave Lab, sound engineer, composer, and sound designer. Hello, Joe.
Hello, glad to be back.
And we have James David Redding, Emmy Award-winning sound editor, sound designer, with many credits, and it was just telling me that it's just finished wrapping up. Oh, can I say that out loud? I don't know if I can actually.
Netflix announced the date, so.
Okay, good. As I was saying, maybe I wasn't supposed to say this out loud, but it's just wrapping out the fourth season for Netflix. And from Hanoi, Vietnam, we have Nikolai Muller-Nielsen, the owner of the amazing Bunker Samples. How are you guys?
Great.
Pretty good.
And for today's topic, I kind of wanted to find a good follow-up to the, I think, pretty nice conversation that we had about generative AI a couple of weeks ago. If you didn't hear it, didn't listen to it, make sure that you have a listen, because I listened back and I thought we said a lot of very interesting things, and definitely to be continued. And after talking so much about generative AI and tech companies forcing AI tools on us that no one asked for, and threat for the threat of the human musician becoming an extinct creature and all those horrible things, basically I asked myself a question, which is there an application of AI that really works as a tool to make our life as musicians and sound designers easier and potentially maybe even stimulates the creative process? I don't know if we found one, but we're going to discuss about it. And while I was thinking about this, I randomly saw the news that Charlie Puth joined Moises, which is a platform that I had never heard of, but I went to look into it. And he joined as Chief Music Officer. You gotta love it when they make up corporate titles. I really love it. And I looked into it, and I found it pretty interesting, and actually I downloaded the app, I looked at the web version of it, and I'm kind of annoyed at myself because I spent too much time on it, because I kind of like started really playing with it. And I have some thoughts. I think it's very interesting, and I also have some thoughts about the fact that Charlie Puth was associated to it. But I want to hear your opinion first. What do you guys think? If you have... Do you manage to try it, or you have any opinions at all on the thing? If you didn't, wants to go first?
I'll say that I have not tried it,
Okay.
but picking up from the thread from last week, I think it's very smart of this company to bring on such a talented musician to advise them on the things that they may assume that they understand. And Charlie is a super talented person, and I'm sure he will offer some interesting guidance.
Yeah, like I wanted to really start from the fact that he was chosen as Chief Music Officer. because I think it's a pretty different. So, like, while I personally don't particularly love Charlie Puth's music or stuff like that, but I think that is a clever choice in the way they are positioning themselves in the market, because it's very different from the Timbaland Suno collaboration sort of thing. They really found like a guy that is like considered a musician's musician, so to speak, like really someone with like I'm not saying that Timbaland doesn't have a musical talent, but you know what I mean. Someone that, you know, there are videos of people testing Charlie Puth.
His ear, his.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'm trying to. It's coming to me in Italian, and I can't think of the word in English. I would say perfect pitch. That's what I was looking for. Testing his perfect pitch and all that kind of stuff. And if you go into Moises, there is also some stuff made with Corey Henry, which, if anyone doesn't know, is an incredible jazz, and not only jazz. Organist, I guess.
Best organist alive, for sure.
Keyboardist, like I love him on the organ. Is really incredible. But yeah, plays all sort of keys. Play with Snarky Puppies as well. And so I think it's quite a different positioning. That's quite an interesting thing. And if you look into it, like, it really positions itself as being this sort of suite of tools that help the musician making music. But before I say more, do you, Nikolai and James, do you want to say anything?
Sure. I had a few thoughts. It looks interesting. It looks more like you said, it's tools. It's not writing music for you. And I can see some of them being very useful. I think transcribing stuff, for example, is one of the best ways to learn and integrate music into your way of thinking, the way you hear things, and, because it's also ear training, and being able to slow stuff down definitely will help with that. But then again, maybe the stem separation will help as well. But that could also fall into the category of that it actually makes you dumber if you rely too much on it, because then if you lose the ability to hear bass line in a big mix, then you know. You didn't. I keep coming back to that study on essay writing, where one group of students was allowed to use AI not to write but to help, and the other was not. And the effects were startling. The people that relied on AI, even just as a helper, their writing was homogenized and they had no original ideas. And whereas the group that was not allowed to use AI at all had very original and different ideas and much more creative writing. So It's like these apps that offers to read a book for you and then summarize it in 15 minutes. To me, that kind of it misses the point, because the joy of reading is that it's also an exercise in focus and attention. And sure, and then it takes you 3 days, but you absorb stuff in a different way when you spend time on it. And it's the same with music. The process is why we do it, and the suffering is just part of that. So I see some useful things in it. I haven't tried it, but I watched the video. And I see some things that maybe I would be cautious about relying too much on.
James.
And I think that's a big point, is the caution on relying too much on. Because the thing that struck me about, I'm not in the music world as much. So I don't write music. I don't pretend to write music anymore. I just sort of make noises. The thing that struck me about it was more the studio side of it, the mastering side of it. And what was interesting was that it's the way it was presented is, oh, look, we can get you there faster without having you to employ somebody else. And that's fine, but it's sort of what I see with film students too, where doing everything yourself closes your art. It kind of makes it so that you don't get that other perspective of what could have been. If you do everything in your own bedroom. And I think that comes down to the music writing side of it too, is by not always bringing in somebody else to help you with a part. It could help you with parts that you didn't think of, but bringing in another human perspective gives you the less homogenized, it's like I always liked playing in a band in high school just because it was sort of fun to hear what they had to add to the songs. And when I try to write music, and this is why I stepped away from writing music, is when I try to write music by myself, because I don't, I'm a middle-aged man with a family that's harder to get together with friends, except on the soccer field for the kids' sports. It's like, okay, um, I'm writing this I'm writing this and I can write down the one riff, but then I get stuck on the drums or I get stuck on, and this might help get that over that, but it won't open it up to a different direction that I might not have thought of.
Yeah, that's a great point. I have so many thoughts on this, again, having used it for a while. So the first thing that I would say is that it's very interesting, the learning tools. The learning tools I've actually used quite a bit in the last couple of days. I am randomly playing with a band for an event. I'm preparing like some music, and it's just like a bunch of pop songs, right? That I'm playing guitar for, and I just for fun I tried it there, and there are a couple of things that are more useful than, for example, doing the same on YouTube where you can slow down the stuff. Because, for example, you can, so like we're playing with a singer, so a lot of things that we're like playing in a different key from the original, so that you can do the slowing down thing, but then you can change key and still play back in the new key. That I find very good, very useful. It obviously works within limits. If you change a key from C to G, you'll hear a lot of artifacts. But if you play something, like half a step down or like a minor third down, it sounds absolutely fine. That's useful. The other thing is in the stem separation. I like how you can not only mute things and so create your own backing tracks, but also change the levels, which is quite useful, kind of creating your own personalized mix. One thing that surprised me is that, or maybe it shouldn't surprise me, but they're selling these stem separators so much, and yet the thing that I keep hearing the most is even when you upload. I also have some original songs that I'm doing for this thing. So I have the high resolution version of these files, 48 kilohertz, 24-bit. So uploading the very high res files, the stem separation still kills all the transients, which I still haven't found a stem separation that works well in. I mean, obviously, I see the point, because if something there's drums, then the downbeat. Obviously, if you have like a thing like spectral content that then overlaps on a drum hit, then it's difficult to separate. But yeah, things like strummed acoustic guitar, they all the transients are completely gone, which is sort of like what happens in the other stem separators that I found. And
Have
then
you
the
used
other.
spectral layers much for that?
No, I was gonna say I haven't used spectral layers at all. That is the one product from Steinberg that I haven't really tried using, because
That's what I was going to recommend too.
It's powerful.
because I'm so used
That's
to
good.
using a Rex that I never really bothered downloading it, but I should. So
I was in a similar boat. I got spectral layers at like version 1 and used it a little bit, but I didn't know it well enough. I wasn't fast enough with it. So I just went back to RX and mothballed that for a bit. And then gradually I just kind of started poking at it here or there, and spoke with Timo from Steinberg, who was telling me about the improvements they're doing on the algorithms and the machine learning. I guess they call it AI. I'm not sure. But he said, new version 12 is really something. So I upgraded to check it out, and he was right. I've used it in some ways very successfully, but to your point, not always. It sort of depends on the source content. Um,
Yeah.
I often am tracking people live. We did a band recently with two singers, and one of them played guitar while they were singing. So, of course, in the booth with that guy, his vocal mic and his guitar mic have bleed all over them. The idea was that we were going to replace it, but he nailed a track. It was just
Yeah.
a great live performance. And he was like, "Well, can we keep it?" And I was like, "Well, let me see crystal clean separation." So on simple material, musical material, very good separation. It made the final mix. The guitar, you may have been able to ISO the track and hear some minor artifact, but in the
Yeah.
mix, it was no problem.
Which is final contrast. Yeah.
Also, from a post-production side, the voice unmix, I think it's called dialogue unmix. I can't remember. But great for lav scratching, great for other extraneous noise that may be stepping on the dialogue. You can unmix it, but not just remove it. You can fader down the background noise to kind of control the blend, which was very useful on a documentary. So, I mean, I do think that AI, machine learning, whatever these tools are, they're going to have a positive use case. It's
Yeah,
not
and
going to
that
be
yeah. Yeah, sorry.
all
Did
the
we-
sky is
Yeah.
falling. It's there. There are for creative craftsmen, there are going to be positive use cases. Moises is a perfect example. All of these tools are useful in some scenario. Is there some person out there who just wants to master something real quick and dirty? And will Moises do a good enough job? Yes. Does that mean it's going to replace a mastering engineer? Not for me, because again, it was more than just make it loud. It was always more than just, I can run an ozone preset if I wanted to. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Which maybe they underestimate the value of the people. Again, it seems to be the trend with the technology companies is that they really don't value the people. They just value the technology and the profit extraction. But who knows?
What else is new?
Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing that I found interesting about this, and I mean, I don't think that there's some sort of saints or anything like that. In fact, I'm about to say a few things. But the the thing that I found interesting is how their messaging is radically different from the other companies, because this is very much in the like, I don't think that they ever think of stuff generated in Moises as the final product in any possible way. They are really, and that is probably the reason why there are so many musicians that are doing like adverts for them. It's really like treated as a practice tool, and I think that again the stem separation in this case, it wasn't really for creating a final product. It's more for like letting you isolate the things, and sort of like work it out. And actually that's why I said I spent too much time on it, because I really tested it. And the other thing that it was like, okay, so one thing that I've done for working with this band is obviously do a lot of transcribing, like working out by ear, like my parts. So, you get a popular song and I did a lot of like, okay, these are the chords and this is the key, this is the tempo and stuff like that. With Moises, you basically throw a WAV file in it and it gives you all the chords and the tempo and the BPMs. And I tested this. I was like, oh wow, this is good with a pop song. And then I was like, okay, let me try. There is like an advanced mode. Let me try with like a jazz track of sort. And I think, and I was like trying to say, okay, let's think of something like very, very structured. So I put Tune Up by Miles Davis in it, which for the known jazz player is just like a series of like 2-5-1 that moved down one step, and he nailed all the chords as well. And I tried a few things, and I think the moment where it was really going crazy is when I started. I can't remember what I put exactly into it. I think I put some.
Schoenberg.
No, nothing like that. Still in, yeah, that would be a great example. No, I still within jazz. I was trying some McCoy Tyner stuff, like very quartal harmonies sort of thing, and I was like, okay, what are these guys playing? Which is fine. But then the other thing that I tried and that was shared with Joe. Joe was so kind to send me a track that he produced that we can listen to if you want, by a band that he produced called Vintage Harmonic Symphony, they're called.
Yeah, VHS is the shorthand, but Vintage Harmonic Symphony is the band. This is their third record here.
Yeah, and it's a great song. And the first thing that I noticed that made me laugh is that this song is like a simple song, right? Like a very basic, nice. I liked it, but like a simple pop song. Let's
It's
say.
a Tom Petty rock song, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And Moises decided it was in 12/8, which is very interesting because it has no like triplet feel at all. It doesn't. There is nothing in any part. I mean, am I wrong, Joe? I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Well, no, I mean, I understand why it probably failed. There was some discussion with the drummer when we were tracking this about it's possible to hear it and misplace the one. The song actually starts on a pickup.
Yeah.
You know, and depending on how you hear the phrase, because the melodic line is across the bar. So between having a song that starts on the pickup and a melodic line that moves across the bar line, you know, I can see how the machine might have tried to calculate something and found what it considered to be a slight abnormality for this otherwise very simple tune, and decided to call it 12/8. I don't think that there was never a point where it sounded like 12/8 to me, but I mean, we're splitting hairs. You know, that's still a four beat metric pulse, so it's not like it was completely.
Yeah,
You know.
it didn't say that it was in 7/8 or something like
Right.
that. That's it. But like
Right.
my point is that, and I'm trying to make a point with this thing, which is like the other thing that we then tried is that in Moises you can add AI generated tracks, and I shared this with you, and I asked Moises to create a strings accompaniment to it. Which it's funny because he decided it was in 12/8, but it's all very 4/4.
The string part is.
string part that he created. So you would think that if he analyzed it in one way, then he would make something that it was in 12/8. Instead, it was like
Yeah, it did straight eighth notes.
it was like straight 8 notes.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I found interesting is that analyzed all the chords and he decided that it was in G major. And I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that. And there are a couple of parts where he uses like, I don't want to get boring musician-y now, but he used like an F natural that it doesn't do it in a sort of like modal interchange, clever kind of way, just like a note that really doesn't fit in there. And to me, it almost sounds as if like, okay, so I did the first variation of that arrangement, you know, going to a regular C chord. When I repeat it, I need to do something different on the C. It's like, oh, maybe that fits, but then it didn't take into consideration the overall tonality of the song. Now that you said that there is a pickup chord, that now I'm thinking that if I remember well, I think that the first chord starts with a C. The first pickup chord is a C that then goes with a G.
Yeah.
Goes to a G. So I wonder whether, since the first chord is a C, consider that the root. Anyway, I don't want to get too analytical about this.
Well, I mean, to bring it back to what Moises generated, you know, I listened. I don't know if I want to play the string track here on the session because the album's not even released yet. But what it did generate, on first listen, I could understand why a less skilled person might be just blown away.
Yeah, exactly.
They might hear it and just be like, that's amazing. But then a more skilled ear, as you listen to it, you start to hear it and it's like, this is sloppy MIDI. it's not well programmed. There's no structure that humans would do when arranging and performing string parts of this nature. There's no variation. There's no natural humanization. The arrangement was very, in some cases, kind of wrong. In other cases, it was like, well, that's acceptable, but I would probably have, you know, varied the staccato rhythm a little bit. You know, add one arco note or something. Um, so I again, I found it to be novel. It was humorous. It worked in some rudimentary way. But compared to what a real human would do with time and resources, it was a drawing in crayons. It was
Well, isn't that why
not
they
that good.
brought Charlie in? Right? I
Probably,
mean,
yeah.
Well,
that's they're probably bringing him in to advise on that sort of stuff. I mean, it's
and
that's
eventually
where
they'll
his
they'll make it better. But
yeah.
even after 25 plus years of MIDI samples and software development, it still takes a lot of effort from a skilled craftsman to make a mock-up sound good.
Yeah.
And I think they overestimate AI's context and creativity to be able to do that. Will it get there eventually? Yeah, it probably will. But it was still rather AI slop in some
Yeah.
form.
Like while I was using it though, like the point that I was constantly thinking about, and to link it to what Nikolai was saying last time, is that if you remove the process of learning, of developing your ear, which this app very much do. So like in my life, I've played with musicians that couldn't read a note, but were able to play on absolutely everything and would be able to play back to you whatever complex melody or harmony you would throw at them. And that is a skill that is developed and learned by constantly using your ears. And the throwing a song in there and the app giving you all the chords just doesn't allow you to develop that ear. So I wonder whether then the risk is that you would get to a point and potentially to a generation that doesn't even have the refined ear to work out that this in G doesn't work. You know what I mean? So that is an interesting point. But then on the other hand, I also thought, okay, so that string arrangement was awful and was yes humorous as you said. Yet the thing that I did think was like, okay, so if I just wanted to, like I have a thing where I need to arrange this for a string quartet or whatever. Maybe I have like a live event and I need to create an arrangement of that track with a string arrangement. That is an idea, and then I can develop it and change it and make it into something. But at least it's a sound. It's something to put on the blank canvas, if you know what I mean. So there is that as a potential value, I think.
Well, I mean, yeah, the potential values are there. David mentioned last week the value in having a non-musical person use a prompt to generate something that helped
Yeah, that's
describe
right.
their idea. There's always going to be a positive. It's, Pandora's box is open. There's going to be negatives, but yeah, they're going to be positives too. So
Well, and it's interesting, sort of going back to the beginning of your point about the trained ear thing, and tools and stuff like that. I just in my class this week when I was teaching, I did one of my favorite exercises with my students where I bring in an old session and I have them mix it. Right, I take out all my automation and I say, "Here you go. Everything's edited. Don't worry about editing. Now mix." And it's always interesting seeing the different students' approach to it. Usually they're freaking out. But it's fun. It was funny because one of them was like, "Well, I don't know how loud it is." And I'm like, "Well, you're listening to it." He's like, "But I gotta put where's the meter? Where can I put up a meter? Where can I put up insight?" And I'm like, and that's a non-smart tool that so many of the young generation are depending on, right? He's looking for a loudness meter to tell him how loud something is. I'm like, just listen with your ears, So that's where sort of a little bit of my fear of it is that we are going to sort of kind of like the loudness wars. We're going to homogenize, going to try to knock everything down to numerical values, kind of going back to the programmer business side of things of it all. I see the value of, for the skilled person, right? It's great that you can break it down and you can add you can get that quick sketch. I mean, I'm constantly known for being the person who does a quick sketch of like, yeah, I could get it done good enough in quickly and get the canvas starting to be filled. But if you give me more time, you'll get a better product. So it's that catch 22, right? It's that tool, and as long as we can keep people knowledgeable about what value is brought to that tool, right? Not that the tool is replacing the value. I think that's again. I think I brought this up last time. Was it's more about teaching people the value of what's outside of that and how that tool can be valuable, but there is value outside of it also.
But that's kind of what scares me, because there's two things. There's the descaling of musicians, right? Especially the next generation that grow up without learning the craft, without learning an instrument. But then there's the effect that's going to have on people's appreciation for human arts. Like so many times in the last few months, I've been in cafes around Hanoi where they have sort of like background jazz on, and when you're not listening to it, it sounds fine. It sounds like smooth jazz. But then when you listen to it, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. This melody is going nowhere, the chords but just meandering, and then you realize this is some kind of AI slop, and it's everywhere now, and people don't notice. I told a friend of mine the other day, and she was like, no, it sounds fine to me. But it's like, but listen, there's no real melody. And it's just going around in not even circles. It's going nowhere. And she's like, what do you mean? And that kind of thing kind of scares me.
Mm-hmm. It's like the elevator music of old, right? The just sort of playing.
Yeah, but worse, because at least that was written by humans, humans who were pumping it out, but still doing it.
Yeah, and then you can't, because the machine maybe hears like, a very, I don't know, soft trumpet on a very sort of like modal bed is like, that's like Miles Davis, but it's not, right? So it's like the working out that sort of difference, which is interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think we are passionate about this stuff, but I do believe that there's a range of consumers out there, and I'm less worried because I feel like the range was always there. And I guess what I mean by that is like the hamburger phenomenon. I love a good hamburger. I will never eat at McDonald's. My brother eats at McDonald's and we argue all the time. He's like, it's great, it's fine. It's like, no, it's terrible. But he really doesn't have the same interest in the craft in a quality hamburger. He's fine just to get whatever slop is on the interstate as he's driving down the road and he's in a hurry. And I feel like, unfortunately, for musicians and sound designers that we really care about this stuff, the reality is that there's a percentage of the population that, and it's okay. It was never a thing that they were interested in. It was never a thing that they were aware of or that they cared about, and that the AI slop is going to continue to function and satisfy that convenient, cheap thing that they're looking for. We had a conversation here yesterday, me and an intern, talking about music as art versus music as a commercial product. He was bemoaning the Billboard charts and what's on the charts and what's not on the charts, and I was like, that's not. Don't let the charts fool you into thinking that that's what music is, because it's so much more than that. And the charts, we probably will see AI artists place well on the Billboard charts at some point, because that is a consumer metric. It's not an artistic metric. So
Yeah, it's like the award shows.
I agree with Nikolai. I kind of have a sadness in my heart relative to the missed opportunities. There will be so many humans who will be steered incorrectly into using these tools and will not develop their craftsmanship. They will not learn. They won't learn to write well. They won't learn to read well, because the convenience factor is so high. But I'm also hopeful that one day, the next great renaissance, people will shun convenience and entertainment because they will have discovered the value of the handcrafted thing and the struggle and making a thing that's more interesting than AI slop is, or Billboard slop.
Another on the write well, your comment on the writing well and the reading well made me think of another thing that I've tried in Moises, which is the AI assisted lyrics writing, which I was prepared for the worst, and it's actually not what you think. So it's not the write me a song about being Joe's brother and driving on the interstate and looking for a burger, but but it's more you kind of like have like a blank page and you start typing, right? And then you need like a word, and you need like something that rhymes with that word, and so you say, give me a word that rhymes with this, and then you can force it into like a certain number of syllables so that it fits the metric of the song that you're writing. And I think that's again kind of like interesting in the different approach that they took, and possibly that is just because if you wanted something like that, you can just go to ChatGPT and say, write me a song about this and that, and instead it's quite different. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, and I wonder again what effect that is going to have. And to me that is one of the most interesting things, because I don't think that, other than for a couple of commercials where I had to adapt lyrics and stuff like that, and maybe when I was 14 or something like that, I have never written a song with lyrics. So that was like an interesting experience as a tool. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, it made me think of something that's not AI related, but it is an example of how computers can help creativity. Because I have a friend who's a writer. He writes books, and he told me of an app he used to write his first book. Which I forget the name. It's something called the most dangerous writing app, something like that. And what it is it's just a text editor. But you sit down and write, and if you stop writing for more, I think it's more like 30 seconds, it begins deleting from the beginning of what you wrote. So you set like a timer. I'm writing for 30 minutes, and if I stop, I'm going to lose my work. And he said that's why he wrote his first book, because it made him generate so many good ideas. Then, of course, later you go back and edit and refine. But I think that's a brilliant idea. And I kind of want to make an app like that for music, for writing, coming up with ideas for pieces, You better keep working.
Self-destroying.
Yeah. That's really what he does. And I thought that's brilliant idea.
Yeah, that is good. That's great.
And then the other thing that we tried on Moises, and then maybe we close it here, was the mastering. We tried it again. So Joe sent me not the raw mix, but the unmastered mix of this song, which I assume you mixed, Joe.
Sure. Yeah, I sent you the unmastered final mix. Yeah.
And then you send me the mastering engineer on the album wasn't you, was another
No,
person.
no, and that's why not me? I can do it.
Yeah.
And this is also why not Moises?
Yeah.
It's because the mastering engineer is another person.
Yeah, exactly.
Another perspective, another set of ears. So the house rule for this studio is that if I record it and mix it, you got to get somebody else to master it.
Yeah. And that makes sense, yeah. And
yeah.
then we tried it on Moises, and unfortunately, this wasn't a blind test. Like I was aware of who it was, so it doesn't have any sort of scientific relevance. But I think that we kind of both agreed that the Moises master was a very good.
It's adequate.
Adequate, yeah, master for very little effort, which is just paying £17 a month, I think, cost the pro plan, and clicking a button, but that the human master was considerably superior. But then I also tried this with a sort of a more music, sort of background cue that I've written for a documentary a while ago, and I didn't really master it. It was just like some bus processing that I had on the session, because for cues in music for media, you don't really master it. You just, because then it's going to be mixed by someone like James under dialogue and soundtrack. So there's no point in mastering it really. And for something like that, it worked very well. Like if I had to then do like an an album release of a soundtrack or something like that, would be quite interesting. The thing that I appreciated, I must say, in that instance, is that this was like a sort of very background, ambient, underscore type track. And every time I use automated mastering services to do a quick pass of mastering on something like that, and that includes something like Ozone, I hate the results because it's so used to mastering IDM or trailer music or rock music that it just like adds saturation to everything, and the transients are like massive, and the cello sounds like they're being played with a bow 1 inch from your ear and stuff like that. And it didn't do any of that. It was like a very like balanced sort of neutral, natural mastering, which I thought was interesting. And then again, that is for a use where I wouldn't hire a mastering engineer in the first place. But yeah, kind of cool that is like this sort of set of tools that are all available to you. I quite enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say though that, I mean, when we reviewed the output and compared it to the professionals' work, the thing that struck me was how vanilla the AI version was, and how much more spice, how much more interest the person put into it, because he did transient shaping in a way that skillfully created impact and pump. His frequency manipulation of the song really kind of, it made it more exciting, whereas the Moises was just louder. It was like basic preset mastering, which does have its place, but yeah, for me, I don't really see that's not a product for me. That's a product for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not something I would choose to use. But
all right. Any final thoughts on this? And maybe we can talk about something else, or we can start closing it. I don't know.
There's a lot of interesting sound design associated stuff. I saw a release from a new plugin that someone made for Max MSP that links up to ChatGPT and can code Max objects from prompt.
Oh wow, that's really
Pretty
cool.
fun. Yeah. I guess the other thing I've been dabbling with is I just installed the MIDI 2.0 package for Windows OS. Promising. Pretty cool.
Nice. Tell everybody that is not as nerdy as we are what Max MSP is.
It is a legendary object-oriented coding platform that many people have used to create advanced plugins and various other tools. Probably the best thing I've ever seen anyone make with Max MSP is the
Egan Matrix. No.
the Egan Matrix, yeah, from that you find in the Hawken Continuum or the
Osmos.
yes, thank you. What Egan did with that is, I mean, that's just an amazing example of what Max MSP can do. But some people use it for computer music composition and various other things. I find it only useful for programming tools, but that's just me.
A while ago, one of my very first jobs was working in text-to-speech synthesis, and I made, so there was like, before AI was a buzzword and stuff, you would have like, I mean, this was only a few years ago, but sounds like ages ago, given the pace of the technology moves. You would have like a lot of, like the virtual assistants like Siri and in cars, in the automotive sector and stuff like that. They would have these voices that would talk to you and the speech recognition, and they worked as a sound engineer to record all the prompts that then would, like vocal prompts that would then generate these voices, and I use Max MSP to create a sort of like voiceover recorder, which was quite an interesting project that I now did almost 10 years ago. But yeah, interesting. Max MSP is really fun to use. I still use it live here and there when I do some sort of experimental music. I always have it hooked up, and it's very fun. This ChatGPT thing sounds very, very interesting. I want to try it out.
Yeah.
I'm now, the other thing that I told you about is that I'm in the middle of working with this. Not that this is going to become a gear review podcast or anything like that, but I've had this delivered to me last week, which is the Suono Buono Polivera, which is a synth made by, the guy is Italian. It's called Stefano, but he's based in Sweden, so he's from a Swedish company. I love the name Suono Buono. Really cool. And it's this, and I have it here. He sent it to me because I'm doing some sound design for it. Is working on a new firmware that will be presented at Super Booth, which, if you don't know, is a big synthesizers event that they do every year in Berlin. I think is what happened to Nikolai?
Oh no,
I think his cat hung him up.
he'll hop back in.
That's right. So yeah, Super Boot is, I would say, it's probably the biggest event in Europe related to that, and it's presenting this new firmware, and I'm doing some sound design for it, and it's very fun. It's sort of it hints to the 80s, like early digital synthesizers and stuff like that, but there's analog filters and analog drive, and it has a sampler in it that accepts only one sample for the old keyboard, so you get this sort of like huge artifacts, and you have wavetable, but also low resolution wavetable with just 128 frames, so you get some real grit. So I'm having some fun with that. Really fun. Hello back, Nikolai.
Welcome back, Nikolai.
Sorry, guys, my internet is really spotty today, and maybe it's because my
We were
cat is
curious
running
if
back and forth
your
on
cat
the table.
stepped on the keyboard. What's the cat's name, by the way?
His name is Thor, T-O-R, which is the Danish way of spelling Thor, the god of thunder, because he's crazy and normally he's bouncing around my apartment like Thor's hammer.
So, hey, Alessandro, is there a translation for the name of that synthesizer? Say it again. What's the name of it?
Well, Suono Buono just means good sound, but it made it into like a single word, which is
Yeah. Fun.
And Polivera, I need to ask him. I mean, poly obviously because it's a polyphonic synth with 6 voices. Vera means true in Italian, but I don't know. I'm wondering whether there is a hint to an old synth that is escaping me. I don't know. Polivera. I need to ask him. I don't know what the name. But he is a very clever guy. I'm really enjoying the synth. I'm glad that he asked me to do some stuff for it because it's super fun. It has a lot of interesting modulations. He also programmed it in a very clever way, since you can add artifacts that model the artifacts of the old early digital synths. He programmed that, since this would take a lot of time to do it in real time, he basically worked out a way to do a lot of this stuff. When you import a sample, it kind of like pre-process them, so it takes a bit of time before you can actually use it. But then that sample and the also version with the artifact is already preloaded for you, so you kind of save on computational resources, which is it's full of like little workflow hacks, I guess, like that are really cool. I'm really having a blast doing some design for this, and yeah.
That's smart.
And you think that it does like sort of like DX7 FM bells and sort of like early digital sounds, but it's really a lot more than that. It's actually really big and cinematic. It has also pretty cool granular reverb in it, which is nice.
Mm.
Yeah, I see you had your Erica synth steam pipe there.
Oh, yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, so the steam pipe has been really fun for me. I probably will never use it for the default patches, but they're great. It's physical modeling. It's very much a playground of twisting knobs, because it's not, we can all approach a subtractive synthesizer and be like, I know what this does. I know what these knobs do. But with this, it's really something different in that you're working with the resonator, you're working with noise sources, it does a lot of car plus strong, and various other interesting things. And I've been able to generate sounds that are fresh and new, but slightly familiar. So if you start with something, I think this patch is, it's kind of an ethnic string, I guess, type of thing. But once you start tweaking it, and let me see if I can randomly, it's probably not going to work very well, but it should go. It gets crazy. Sorry if that was excessively loud. Maybe we can fix that in post. But yeah, I mean, you heard the preset before, and then with just some random twist, you get this other completely unrelated sound. So it really is a hands-on exploration box and a lot of fun, in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Nikolai and James? Do you want to say anything that you're working on, anything fun that you can share?
Not really. The only thing is I'm still running my birthday sale, but it ends tonight. So last chance.
Highly recommend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last chance for big savings at bunkersamples.com. Also, the Rung, the bamboo instrument I sample, also comes off intro sale tonight. So maybe worth checking out.
Absolutely. How about you, James?
I got nothing interesting this week. Sorry. Just playing around. I got a Airwave a while ago. Finally, a Rolly Airwave.
Oh, the Rolly one that you can control with your hands.
The hand tracker.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I've used it a bunch, but now I'm sort of diving into how I can make it more efficient, because I sort of shoehorned it into my workflow once I got it. And now I'm like, okay, now let me sit down and actually learn the controls a little bit better. And it's very much like a theremin where you have to be careful with your hand gestures. because it can get crazy very quick depending on what you tell it to control. The hardest thing though about it is like it has a limited range of MIDI CCs that it transmits, and you have to tell its program to talk to whatever you're trying to tell it to learn those CCs, and not every MIDI app in Pro Tools likes learning MIDI CC. So it's like this weird, like a lot of clicking where I don't like clicking. And I've been going back and forth with a bunch of developers about that, and they're just like, "Well, that's their problem," and you know, they're all pointing fingers at each other. It's like that Spider-Man meme. But
I've not used Pro Tools for MIDI in quite a bit. I still have it, but I do all my MIDI elsewhere. Does Pro Tools have any kind of transformer, like a MIDI? So, like, yeah.
I was gonna say you can probably do something with, like, I never know how to pronounce it, but there is this software called Bome, or something like that, BOME, that probably you can use for that purpose.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it more. Like it's one of these things where it's like, there's promises on both sides of the spectrum of like, oh, it could do this now, it could do that, and you're like, no, it really can't. And then like, Pro Tools with MPE is supposed to have gotten better, but not great. And I've found it works really well with Falcon, but not with other things. And and a lot of, it's developers, as anybody who's developed anything, it's trying to keep up with all the different changes that keep happening, that it's hard to always make those things accessible. But it's been fun anyway, just playing with it. And like, I use it for the weird things. I was driving a car in the Four Seasons with it and Chrono Studio. It's like I could sit there with my hand and just go, up goes faster. I could tilt it to change the pitch, and I could do sort of gear shifts this way and all sorts of stuff like that. So that I mean, it makes the job more fun for me. But
and that's so important. People underestimate how important that is.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, especially making the job fun, if anything. I mean, I think that's kind of why we get into being creative and allowing ourselves to go a little crazy. But it also, as far as I'm concerned, it also makes things unique. So it's like, you're not getting the same car driving sound every episode, every time they're in the car. You're getting something unique to that particular scene that I'm now performing, and I'm performing in a way that I can't even replicate, because I don't record my MIDI. I don't record my controls, for that stuff. I just do it live and record it right back in. And so if I mess it up, I have to do it again, and it's going to be different, because I like that sort of mistake.
Absolutely. It was the fact that Airwave, is it called Airwave? Airwave, right? Yeah. That is made by Rolly. I was thinking, since we started with Sonora Cinematic, we started releasing Soundbox libraries. In all the video walkthroughs that I do, I use this little thing, which is basically like a pocket version of the
Seaboard. I have that too.
That they did a while ago. I can't tell you how many times people comment on the video, say, oh yeah, okay, the product is good, blah blah blah, but what is this? Which really annoys me, because hey, I'm not selling you this, I'm selling you a product by Sonora Cinematic. I'm joking, but the funny thing is that they did this thing, which, since I wasn't interested in like the big Seaboard, right? And I do have like the Osmos for like proper MP things, but I think this was such a great product that they stopped doing, because it was like an affordable, very small, you can put it anywhere on your desktop, MP controller that is only two octaves and is sort of small, but it does what the Seabird does without like a massive footprint. I saw that. In fact, people that tell me, where can I buy these for, they're going to use it for your plugins, I keep pointing them to that. But it
the Q Nexus. It's like 10 years old, and it's MPE, and it still works, and it puts out CV, so I use it to control my 2600 clone, and it's great.
but what?
It's full of cat hair, but apart from that, it works.
Yeah, okay. You have the expenses. The expenses.
Can't compete with that.
You can compete with that, and absolutely, yeah, yeah. For whoever is just listening, Joe just pulled out a instrument,
Yeah.
which is a very cool MP controller. But yeah, like, but the one that you have, Nikolai, does he have MP slide, and can you do like the control the pitch like by moving it like that? How does it work?
Pits I have not figured out, but you can tilt it sideways and up and down, and it can output that as either CV or MIDI. So you can kind of do with it what you want.
So yeah, but, so that is a good alternative. But this was a great little product that Rolly did, which they're not doing anymore.
I have one of those sitting right underneath the Airwave, and it's a great for me for sound design. It's great because you can slide up or down, side to side, and have it shoot out, different controls for mod wheel or pitch and everything like that. And, I use it for all sorts of triggers where, I want to be able to control it. The problem I had with just getting the C board is that it only does sort of mod wheel and pitch CCs. And I was like, well, I want more to be able to do more things with. So then I got the Airwave, because it gives you another 10 cc's. I think it's like 20 to 30 are the cc numbers that it puts out. It's more for me because I do all my work in Pro Tools. It's trying to get the other apps like Falcon to read it properly, or Contact or something, and it shoots out a lot of MIDI information. Like the Airwave is constantly, if you have it turned on and have the app on, it's constantly sending MIDI signals, which can bog down systems very quickly. Pro Tools has been crashing a lot with that recently also, where if I have the Airwave on and try to boot Pro Tools, Pro Tools is like, what is all this information I'm trying to gather right at boot? This is horrible, and it shuts down.
C'est la vie.
Nice. All right. Anything more? Shall we close it here, or you guys have anything else to say?
Nope.
No?
Sounds great. Great conversation again. I enjoy these coffee talks.
Yeah, and likewise. And thank you so much for being part of it again. And I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. All right?
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.